Hello and welcome to the 2019 Police Women's Recruitment Webinar. I'm your host, Officer Diane Yandrich.
And I'm Sergeant Lindsay Ally.
And why are we having this webinar today? Well, this is an online job seminar, and it's not really just for women, it's for anyone that is interested in becoming a Columbus police officer. We're going to give you all the details that you need to know from applying until the time that you hit the streets. And this is available to anybody, not just if you live in Central Ohio. So if you are interested, stay tuned for everything that you need to know about becoming a Columbus police officer. Now, when I was younger, I didn't know any police officers, let alone any police officers who were female. So I think that if I would have known female police officers, I may have come into my profession a little bit sooner in my life. How about you?
Well, you know, I was in college and I changed my major I don't know how many times, and somehow I fell into criminology, and I think it was just meant to be. And, you know, I started applying to different agencies, and Columbus was what I wanted to, where I wanted to be. And, you know, I wasn't originally from Columbus, but I wanted to start my adult life here after Ohio State, so.
Yeah, I got a civilian job working in burglary, and and that's when I figured out, you know what, I think I want to be a police officer. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of women in policing. So in 1921, 3 women took the civil service exam and passed. Now the chief at the time thought that we only needed 2 police women because 3 would be unnecessary.
Oh. Yes.
So,
well, thank you, Chief.
Unfortunately.
Yes.
However, those 2 were hired in 1921, Dolly Fisher and Emily Greer. So an interesting story is one evening they were working at the Pastime Theater on South High Street, and they were supposed to escort juveniles out who hadn't paid. So they were chasing these kids who had run away from them, and one of them caught one and the other one didn't. And she said, well, I didn't catch him because I was wearing a skirt. So the chief said, you know what, I think you should be able to wear knickers.
Oh, thank you, Chief. We appreciate that. It's definitely hard to catch people in skirts.
In a skirt.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, goodness. So in 1944, Frances Lee became the first African-American policewoman. 1946, Frances Anderson was the second African-American policewoman. And then in 1948, we had Lula Dickinson, which was the third African-American policewoman. And she had the task of checking taverns and beer parlors for the presence of minors. In 1951, we kind of made a come up. We got uniforms and 38 revolvers. And check this out, we got handbags for our holsters.
Handbags,
yes,
that's nice.
Handbags. Not only that, they also started a variety of cases. Instead of just juvenile reports, they got new training for arrest and court procedures and judo training, along with pistol and submachine gun firing. I think we should bring that back.
Yes, Lindsay, I would like to see submachine gun firing.
That would be fun.
1961, the city hired 7 more women, and we had a total police strength of 15 police women. Interesting fact, 1962, Jean Bunn, whose married name was Joseph, got hired on the department. And she ended up retiring with 42 years.
42 years.
She is still the longest standing female on the department. She was assigned to the Juvenile Bureau, and then she worked in sex crimes and narcotics. She was also a hostage negotiator. So, you know, it's pretty neat to see that she stuck around this department for that long.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
accomplished so many things.
And especially coming on during that time, you know, that was, there were very few women in policing at that time. So to stick around and make a name for herself for 42 years is amazing.
Right.
So we thank you. Some more interesting facts. In 1972, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act outlawed gender discrimination in public agencies. So in 73, policewoman and patrolman, those classifications were eliminated and replaced with what we know today as police officer.
Thankfully, yes.
Yes. In 1974, then, more than half of our 910 applicants were women.
That's great.
Yes.
We need that to happen again.
Yes, we do.
So some firsts. 1975 had 3 major firsts. Mary Lester was the first woman to work patrol. Laura Dodd was the first female SWAT alternative. Ruth Wilcox was the dive team and team master. 1981, Diane Meade was the first woman on SWAT. And in 1987, Mary Lester was the first female police sergeant who was also happened to be African American.
And in 1991, Mary Cairns was our first female lieutenant. In 94, Pam Robinson was the first female on the mounted unit. I think that's a job that I would like to have. 1996, Nancy Reese Weeks was our first female pilot. Now, I got to tell you, Diane, when I came on, I took a ride in our chopper, and I wanted to be the first female pilot.
Really?
And I wasn't able to because she already did it.
I'm scared of heights.
You know what's funny? I'm scared of heights too, but being in the chopper was
scared.
like, yeah, it was like completely different. I don't know, it was really cool. Anywho, in 2003, Kathy Collins became the first female on the motorcycle unit.
She was also the first female polygraphist.
She was, yes. And then in 2009, Kim Jacobs was our first deputy chief, and she was promoted again in 2012 to chief. So she was not only our first female chief of police, but also our first lesbian police chief. So we thank you for paving the way for us, ladies.
Yes. All right, so we're going to cut to a video now of some of the women who we are going to highlight in our webinar.
I work with several of my classmates in the part of the city I work right now, and it's awesome experiencing the sense of camaraderie that I have with them because we went through the academy together.
Once you get into the job, you really understand a different meaning of how much you actually do get to help people.
I was lucky enough to find a job and a career that I had a passion for, that was exciting, was something I never dreamed about, and as soon as I was here, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else.
I truly feel like, yeah, we had some struggles early on with trying to establish that women could do the job, but since then we've greatly improved as women have become much more accepted throughout the country in not only law enforcement, some other difficult jobs.
All right, so we have come a long way from skirts and the Juvenile Bureau, right?
Yes, we certainly have. We have paid parental leave and light duty for those officers that either get injured or are pregnant. And that's something that a lot of departments don't have, Diane. I have talked to a lot of females across the state, and they do not have the option to do any type of restricted duty if they were to get injured or pregnant. So it's definitely a benefit that we have here at Columbus.
It is. So we are going to be having our open application period, and it's going to be from July 1st through 31st. It's easy online application, and there's 4 basic qualifiers that we have. The first one is that you are 20 years of age at the time of application. Now, you're also going to have a valid driver's license. And if it's not in the state of Ohio, that's okay. It can be from another state, and it will still count. You also have to have a high school diploma or a GED. If you're from another country and you have that country's equivalent of a high school diploma, that will suffice. And also, you have to be a United States citizen. Now, a lot of people have asked us in the past if you're in the process of getting your citizenship, or if you have your green card, if you can apply. And the answer is that you're going to have to wait until you actually have your citizenship.
Now, Diane, some of the basic disqualifier questions that we get are, have you ever used, tried, or purchased marijuana in the past 12 months? And have you used, tried, or purchased any other illegal drug other than marijuana in the past 3 years? And nobody's perfect, right? We've all done things in our past, but the biggest thing here is that you want to be truthful. So if you have in fact used marijuana or something else, be honest about it. And if it doesn't fit with that timeline, then you'll have to apply another, the next round. But you want to definitely make sure that you're honest with those questions.
Because if you're not, the lie is going to get you in trouble more than actually you using illegal substances. So after you apply online, you're going to be invited to take the civil service exam. And this is going to be scheduled by our Columbus Civil Service Commission. Now, they do make accommodations for out-of-state personnel and military personnel. So if you need to reschedule with them, you can do so. And their website and their phone number should be listed on the screen. Now we have a big announcement to make. Saturday, July 13th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. is going to be our Columbus Police Jobs Seminar. It's going to be located at our James G. Jackson Training Academy at 1000 North Hague Avenue. If you go to our website, you can sign up via Eventbrite. And it's a great way to come out and see if this is the right department for you. There's going to be people from our Background Investigations Unit, our Human Resources Unit. We're going to have specialty units there, a Civil Service Commission. They can answer questions for you. We're going to have the Milo room open, which does practice shooting in situations.
Like shoot, don't shoot scenarios.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we want to make sure that you're there the whole time. So schedule it to be able to be there from 10 to 2 and wear comfortable clothes, because you will have an opportunity to test out the different physical standards that we go through as well.
Yes. All right. So what do you like about Columbus? I know some people watching this are not from Columbus. Columbus is a great place to live. It's a great place to raise a family. And we're going to cut now to a video to show you about our great city.
So, Diane, did you know that we just passed San Francisco and we are now the 14th largest city in the U.S.?
That's great.
Yes. We're also home to the Ohio State University. That's my alma mater.
Go Buckeyes.
The best damn band in the land. Let's see what else. We're also a foodie town. We have a food truck festival every summer. I love going to that and trying out all the new food trucks.
Some of my favorite places to eat. They just featured Dirty Frank's. My kid loves Dirty Frank's. They have great hot dogs, great atmosphere. Cameron Mitchell restaurants are awesome. Short North has North Market, and there's pretty much anything for anybody at the Short Market, Short North Market.
Let's see, what else? What other areas of town do you enjoy? I like Easton personally. They have the new Legoland Discovery Center, which my kids love.
Yes, yes. The Gallery Hop, which happens once a month in the Short North, is great for art fanatics. And then we have a lot of other local attractions. The Columbus Zoo and Aquarium is great if you have kids, and if you don't have kids, it's great. Red, White, and Boom is one of our major events. People from all over Central Ohio and even outside of Ohio come here to watch a great fireworks display. And we have a lot of live entertainment going on.
And you know, Diane, at Red, White, and Boom, we always have to work it as officers. I think almost the entire city is working. But I always enjoy working Boom. I always get a funnel cake and fries. I make sure to make that part of my day. And inevitably, it always is windy, and I get powdered sugar all over my pants.
But you know what? It was worth it.
It was definitely
right?
worth it. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it's a great event. A lot of people have a great time, including us officers. We have the African American Cultural Festival that happens once a year. The Latino Festival, you can get a lot of ethnic food from these festivals. If you like to run, we have the Nationwide Children's Hospital Marathon, and then we also have the Cap City Half Marathon.
Now, don't forget all of the sports for those sports fans. We have the Blue Jackets. If you're into hockey, we have the Columbus Crew, which we saved recently, and they did not go down to Texas.
Yes, and don't forget about the Buckeyes.
Yes, of course, the Buckeyes and the Columbus Clippers. And that, talk about a good atmosphere. That is an amazing atmosphere to go down to one of the Clippers games, and on Diamond Dog Night especially. It's a good time.
Yeah. So anyways, let's talk a little bit more about the civil service test. So there are 4 phases to the test. The first 3 phases are going to happen all in one day in the month of August. Phase 1 and 2 is going to happen in the morning, and phase 3 is going to happen in the afternoon. So phase 1 is a multiple choice test, and it's going to have spelling words that you're going to need to know not only how to spell, but if you know what they mean and be able to use them in a sentence. So there's going to be reading comprehension questions, and then there's also going to be map reading. So you got to know your north, south, east, and west. And if you don't, practice it. The next phase is going to be also in the morning, and it's going to be where you're pretending like you're taking a police report. And for this, you're going to still have to write with your hand.
No typing?
So it has to be legible, right? But what they're looking for is whether you could gather all the facts and whether you can write them down in the right order. They're looking for capitalization, punctuation, whether you can write in a complete sentence with a noun and a verb, that there's no run-ons.
Now, Diane, do I need to have a degree to take this test? Because you just went through a lot.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
You have to have your high school diploma.
Okay, but just
that's
your
it.
basic writing comprehension, reading comprehension, that will get me through this test.
Right.
Okay, all right, awesome. So after that then is phase 3, and that's going to happen the same day in the afternoon, and that is the COPE exam, and that's the Columbus Oral Police Exam. And that is basically to test your interpersonal skills. We'll have 8 scenarios, and you have 45 seconds to respond to these scenarios. Now, you'll be set up in a room, there will be a camera in the corner, and you'll face the screen, like a TV screen. And so once those scenarios play, again, you have 45 seconds to give a response. And we're looking for interpersonal skills, problem solving, whether or not you can be empathetic and compassionate to the situation that the person is dealing with, and also assertiveness. We want to make sure that you can take command of a situation.
Right, not to be confused with aggressiveness.
Right. Those are completely separate. So I think now we're going to have a video of the COPE with an appropriate response.
Around 4 p.m. on a hot summer day, you are dispatched to see a homeowner who has called in a neighborhood disturbance. When you arrive at the address, you and your partner observe several teenagers playing basketball next door to the complainant's home.
Sir, you called about a disturbance?
Yes, those damn kids are destroying the neighborhood. All I hear is that stupid basketball game for hours at a time. I can't even read a book in peace.
I understand that kids playing outside can sometimes be a bit loud. Can you tell me a little bit more about the problem? Do the kids usually play basketball at this time of day? Okay. Have you talked to the kids and asked them to play more quietly? No, you haven't spoken to them? Okay. Well, the good thing is that they're playing outside instead of causing trouble around the neighborhood, and they really aren't doing anything illegal. I saw a public park just down the street when I drove in. I'll go talk to them and see if that might be an option sometimes. I'll be back to talk to you before I leave, okay? Alright, I'll be back shortly.
Okay, so as you can see, her response was what we would like to see from an applicant. Now you have 8 different chances to do this. So if one of them doesn't work out right, just try to erase it and just move on to the next scenario.
Yeah, and each one is scored separately. So you're going to get, you're scoring for the first one, and like she said, if you mess up, just keep going with the next 7.
So after this, if you pass those 3 phases, you'll be invited to phase 4. And this is going to be our physical fitness portion of the civil service exam. And this is going to happen this year in late October. So you're going to be graded on 3 separate physical tests. We're going to have a test for the 300-meter run. And if you pass that, you'll move on to the sit-up station. And if you pass that, you'll move on to the push-up station. Now these are going to be based upon your age and your gender. So if you go to the website, to the Get Fit and Informed section, you will be able to find out what your benchmarks are. Now the recruiting unit offers police applicant study skill sessions, and they're going to be located at our training academy. You can come out to one of these sessions and we'll give you tips on how to pass the civil service exam. We offer 6 of them. And then the Columbus Civil Service Commission also offers informational sessions, and those will be on separate dates. You can go to their webpage to receive that information. Now, as for the Phase 4, the recruiting unit offers Get Fit and Inform sessions. And these are sessions where you can come out to our academy and you can practice the 300-meter run. Because guess what? It doesn't happen all in a straight row. You have to run around our gym 3.5 times.
Yes.
Which is not easy for everybody.
It's not, no. We've seen lots of people struggle, but that's what these are for. It's to get you prepared to see what the test is like and not be shocked on test day. And so it gives you an opportunity to learn what you need to get to and have time to practice it beforehand.
And we'll simulate the test exactly how it's going to play out, and we'll give you a lot of pointers to help you pass. So we're going to show a video of civil service, Carla Pierce.
So the entry-level police officer test is comprised of 4 different phases. Phase 1 is the multiple choice test. Phase 2 is the writing sample test. Phase 3 is the COPE, which means the Columbus Oral Police Exam. And then Phase 4 is the physical exam. Some steps that an applicant can take to prepare for the exams is first, they should visit our website. That should be the first thing that they do. Because on our website, we have all this information. We have videos, we have study guides, we have handouts. We have information about upcoming info sessions, and so on and so forth. The first 2 phases, the multiple choice and the writing sample, and then the final phase, the physical, all 3 of those are pass-fail. The COPE exam, which is the 3rd phase, that's not pass-fail. It's scored in that that score then becomes the candidate's final test score for the entire test. Their COPE score is what's used to determine where they end up on the eligible list. So the eligible list is made up of 3 categories. They're called bands. Each of those bands represents a different percentile. So the 70 band contains everyone who falls within the 70 to 79% score for the test. The 80 band contains everyone who earns, who scored 80 to 89%, and then the 90 band contains everyone who scored 90 to 100%. If an applicant has questions about civil service, and specifically the test, especially the test, since we manage the selection process, they should contact us at Civil Service. Now, if a candidate has questions about the actual job, then they should contact the Division of Police Recruiting Unit.
Okay, so once you get through all of that, it becomes the background investigation. And the background investigation, you are placed in what we call bands. You're either the 90, 80, or 70 band, and that is based on your test scores from the COPE test. And so you want to do the best that you can and score as high as possible, because that is what's going to get your background processed first. So let's say we're in the 90 band. We're going to get an invitation to fill out the personal history statement. Now you have 10 days to fill this out. If it doesn't get back in 10 days, then you can be removed from the process. So you want to make sure that you're very timely and get all of that stuff into us as soon as possible. There are some background disqualifiers that you can find on our webpage under the honesty and falsification section.
And then after that, you're going to be contacted by your background investigator, and they're going to schedule a pre-interview for you, and it's going to also have a polygraph with it, and they're going to get your mugshot and your fingerprints taken. And they're basically going to go over everything that you filled out in your personal history statement. They're going to want you to bring with you a whole bunch of your information, like your current driver's license, your birth certificate, marriage license, if you have a divorce decree, your high school diploma and or transcripts, or your GED certificate, college diploma, military documents like your DD-214 if you have been in the military, proof of registration with the Selective Services if you're a male, and proof of current automobile insurance. So your investigator is going to do a background check. And after that, they're going to check with your personal references your professional references. They're going to want to know basically everything about you, including
Everything.
Animals that you've had your entire life, your pets.
Oh yeah,
right.
Everything. They're going to know all about you by the time it's all said and done. So yeah, so now that you have a list of, is that list online as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so that way you can kind of start getting those documents prepared. I know I had to contact the different colleges that I was at to make sure I had those transcripts in time. So that's something that you can do now, and that way when those 10 days come, you're all set to get it done.
Yes. So then you're going to be scheduled for a final interview at the academy with your background investigator. And at this one time, they're going to want you to bring your significant other, if you have one, because they're going to want to talk to you about what it's like to live with an officer, because it's a unique profession, and we work different hours with different days off. And so they just want to sit you both down and talk about that, along with making sure that you have all of the documentation that you need to move forward. So now we're going to cut to a video with our polygraphist, Randy Stonerock.
I'm a polygraph examiner. I've been over there for a couple years now. I've been doing it for 2 years for CPD. I've been doing it for almost 6 for other agencies and everything. And the perception is polygraph is a bad thing. And I can tell you the 2 years that I've done it for CPD, probably 99% of the applicants in which I've tested said that's nothing like they imagined that they thought polygraph was going to be. It's not as bad as everybody thinks. What's going to happen is in the polygraph suite, after we go over the background and get the applicant, we're going to bring them over to our exam room, and then we're going to sit down in the exam room, we're going to sign a waiver, and then after that, it's just going to be kind of like a one-on-one interview. We're going to cover the whole personal history statement. We're going to go through that. We're going to let the people add anything that they may think of that comes to mind that they may have forgotten. And we're going to document all of this. We're going to talk about it. And then after we go through what I call the dreaded blue booklet, there's over 100 questions we're going to cover. And all of it pertains to the personal history statement and their life in general. And after we get through that dreaded blue booklet, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about how the polygraph works, give them an explanation of the polygraph. And then we're going to run a practice test. That practice test has nothing to do with their application, has nothing to do with their pre-employment test that we're going to run at the end of their session with us. The practice test is just a test that we can run so that we can get a baseline, so that we can see what it looks like when they're telling the truth and when they're lying. And then after we get that baseline, what we're going to do is we're going to run the test for real. And we have to run the charts at least 2 times. And when I say run the charts 2 times, that means going through the set of questions twice. And then after that, we'll talk about what came out of it, if there's some problems with some of their reactions that might indicate deception. We'll talk about those and see if they have a plausible explanation. And then we'll write up the summary, and we'll give it the background, and then background will decide if there's any problems with the polygraph, whether to bring them back for another polygraph, or maybe a more thorough background investigation by the detective is needed. Or maybe they'll write something up for the oral board, the panel, and maybe the applicant can explain why those reactions may have occurred.
All right, so thanks, Randy. After all of that comes the oral board, and the oral board is basically a job interview. You come out to the academy, and there is a panel of 3 people. 2 are sworn police officers, and 1 is a human resources representative. And it's basically a formal job interview. You want to make sure that you're wearing formal attire, business casual at least. And the job of the oral board is to take a look at your entire packet, your whole past, everything. They'll ask you questions about about your past and why you want to be a police officer. They're not looking to, trip you up or anything like that, but they want honest answers on why you may or may not have done the things that you did in your past, and they want to know how you will benefit the Columbus Division of Police.
Yeah, they want to know why you think you should be one of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is your chance to sell yourself.
Yeah, and we get 2,300 applicants almost every year, and we only have 100 jobs. So what sets you apart? And that's what we're looking for in the oral board.
So after the oral board does their interview with you, they will make a recommendation, and then that recommendation is going to go with your packet up the chain of command and over to the safety director's office for review. And if they decide, yes, we want to give you a conditional offer, you have another step. And
so many tests, Diane.
Another physical fitness test to take. This is going to be a state-mandated test through OPATA, which is Ohio Peace Officer Training Academy. And it'll be out at our academy. You're going to be required to come out and do a set number of push-ups, a set number of sit-ups, and you're going to be required to run 1.5 miles. Now this is going to be also online where you can look up age and gender specifics to find out what your benchmarks are. And this is not an easy test for a lot of people. But you know, if you practice and you make fitness a priority, you can make it happen. Now, there's a great officer on our department who had some issues trying to pass some of the physical tests, like so many others, and she succeeded, and she has a story to tell about that. So this is Officer Caitlin Morales.
Before this job, I was pushing 200 to 210 pounds on a 5'2" frame, which was not kind to my body. But I knew I wanted to do this, and I knew that it required a lot of physical fitness. So I hired a personal trainer, and he kicked my butt 3 days a week, and then I followed a strict meal plan just to get the weight off. I ran like crazy, and then in the academy they really stress, you know, push-ups, sit-ups, and running. So if I was watching TV and a commercial came on, I would alternate between push-ups and sit-ups, and then I ran every single day. My husband helped a lot because he does, to this day, he still does all my meal prep. So I'd have starved without him. And then just, again, my family, and you know, they don't sugarcoat things, and they were very much like, if you want this, you've got to work for it. So, you know, then we joined fitness apps and bought Apple Watches and Fitbits, and we just competed constantly with who could run the most miles in a week. And if one of us wasn't, you know, finishing out our exercise bars, we were calling each other out in family group chats. So I know I didn't realize that, yeah, that's the end of the academy, but through the academy, you are doing all the workouts that those big, strong boys are doing. So yeah, you're gonna do sets of 20 push-ups, but you're gonna do 20 sets of those 20 push-ups. So you need to be able to do them. For me, it was like, oh, I can do this. And then I got there, I was like, oh God, I don't know if I can do this. That's a lot of push-ups and a lot of sets, and you're so sore the next day.
You know, Diane, I just absolutely love Officer Morales. When I helped out with her academy class as one of the instructors, and I remember her struggling a little bit with a lot of the physical stuff. And about 6 months later, I saw her on the street. She came out to work for me, and I almost didn't recognize her. That's how great she looked. And so, I mean, she has an amazing story. She's now doing like bodybuilding
That's great.
competitions, up, you know, in heels and everything. So, you know, it's amazing to see the transformation in people from day one of the academy to, you know, once they get out onto the street.
Yeah, and she did roller derby at one point as
She
well.
used to do roller derby, yes.
She's
awesome. She's pretty hardcore.
Diane,
so we were talking earlier about why we felt it was important to have a webinar geared towards women specifically.
Right.
So let's talk about what we bring to the job as females.
Yeah, well, I know many times I've been in a domestic violence incident or a sexual abuse incident where the victim is very traumatized and they only really want to talk to a female police officer. And I'm so glad that I've been there to help them get through, at least through the interview process, so they can at least tell their story about what happened.
Absolutely, absolutely. I've had the same thing as well. And I think also that we strengthen community policing. A lot of times, you know, you're out and about and talking to kids, and they kind of flock to us, you know, like they would their mom.
Right.
So we're there, and that kind of builds that relationship and kind of bridges that gap a little bit.
And then you're going to see less uses of force. You know, a lot of times women typically have less upper body strength, so we're going to have to use our de-escalation skills a lot more than a male would.
Absolutely. And I think also that we get fewer complaints because of that. So we're able to, diffuse that situation, and therefore people aren't calling in as many complaints on us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, so let's say you pass the OPATA test. Congratulations, you now have your conditional appointment.
Yay.
You only have 3 more tests to take. That's it.
Just 3.
Yes.
So many tests.
So the first one's going to be a medical test, and they're going to be checking your hearing and your vision and some other basic medical tests. Along with that, in the same day, is going to be your stress test. Now, I am not going to lie when I tell you that a stress test is very stressful.
No pun intended.
That's right. That's why they call it a stress test. So what the recruiting unit does is if you would like to come out for a tutorial, you can come to our office. We'll put you on a treadmill, and we'll give you pointers and tell you how you can better yourself enough so that you can pass this test. We like to tell people that if you focus on your physical fitness in the way of cardiovascular exercises and keeping yourself lean, you're going to have a better chance of passing. Now, there's no way that we can measure the VO2 max, which is what they measure, but we can give you an idea of where you were at and where you need to be.
And Diane, I remember taking this test, and I think the weirdest part about it was when they hooked you up to the mask, and it was just unexpected because I didn't have something like this to tell me what the stress test was. So you just kind of went in blindly. So knowing what's going to happen just with the treadmill portion and knowing that you will be hooked up to a mask, I think is beneficial just in and of itself.
Absolutely. So. The more you know, the better prepared you will be.
Absolutely.
So if you pass all of those, actually, you have a psychological test that you have to pass as well, and that's done outside of the police department by another agency. But if you pass that, then congratulations, you've made it into the academy. And just when you think you've made it through everything, guess what? Now you have to go through 29 weeks of a paramilitary academy.
And more tests.
Yes.
Now, real quick though, before you move on, we get a lot of questions about LASIK. And so if I've had LASIK, can I still get on the department?
You can.
Okay.
Now you're going to have to wait 60 days before you can get on. You have to have that done at least 60 days prior. Now the uncorrected standard for vision is 20/125, and corrected it's 20/20. If you have any questions about that, you can get a hold of our Civil Service Commission for more details about that.
Awesome.
So Sergeant Reardon is the recruit training sergeant in the academy, and one of his great quotes is that we don't pass out guns and badges here, you have to earn them. And the way he says that is he yells it, you have to earn that, and he is not kidding.
He's not kidding, and I think we have a great recruit training staff, and one of those officers is Tracy Shaw, and we are gonna hear from her now.
At Recruit Training, I teach defensive tactics. I also teach patrol practicals, stops and approaches, building searches, basically the entire curriculum that OPATA requires for a new police officer. I teach minus firearms. A recruit's first day at the academy is stressful. But once you accept that it's going to be stressful, it's going to be hard, then you just take minute by minute, you deal with minute by minute, and do what you're told. In order to prepare yourself for the academy, recruits should, first of all, be physically fit. They should be structured, be on a schedule. For that 29 weeks, you're up at 5:30 in the morning, you're getting here by 6:30, you've had to have gotten your uniform ready the night before. Your day officially ends at 4 p.m. here at the academy. However, you have to get yourself ready for the next day. You may want to stay and do extra work in the area of subject control, the area of report writing. And so you may not be getting home till you're late. So getting yourself on that schedule and being disciplined with yourself is something that's going to help you in the academy. And then also knowing your 10 code, knowing your core values. Those are all important things that you have to know. And so if you know them, on day one, then you can focus on the new material that's being given to you. But if you don't know the material that's been given to you, then not only are you learning the material that you should have known, but then you're also learning the new material that's given to you every day.
So this is a very serious job, and I think it takes a special person to do it. But what the academy is there for is to teach you how to become that officer that we're looking for. And like you said, it's 29 weeks of paramilitary, but I think the benefit though is that it's non-residential. So you don't have to live at the academy, you don't have to be away from your family. It's paid training, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m., Monday through Friday. And correct me if I'm wrong, Diane, but this year the recruits are making, starting out at $57,000, and next year it'll be almost $59,000 a year. Is
That's
that
right.
correct?
Next year it's going to be $28.34 an hour. Getting paid to train is a great benefit that a lot of other agencies do not provide for you. Not only that, but you don't have to have your state certification to get on with the police department. With us, everybody goes out to London towards the end of the academy, and they take that state test together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so once all of that is done, it's on to graduation and then field training. And field training, I think, is the best part about it. You get 4 different officers that you train with over a 15-week period. You get a variety of shifts and a variety of precincts. You really get to know the city. And Diane and I were both field training officers, and I think this is the most important job on the department, I think, because you are training new officers in how to deal with the public and handle people in crises. So I think that's one of the greatest opportunities that we have here. But we also have some other opportunities.
Yes. If you want to be a bicycle officer, doesn't require a lot of seniority. You go through 1 week of bike school, which I haven't gone through yet, but maybe someday. I know they do stairs, but they claim that you won't get hurt. So
the stairs do seem a little scary.
Bicycle rapid response training as well, and they take care of protests, parades, you name it. They're out there doing it, and being right in the public. One thing that's really nice about our department is that we train officers to train other officers. So both of us are state certified as instructors, and we can teach crisis intervention training, physical fitness training, and other things.
Cultural diversity. I'm going out actually next week to the new class that's getting ready to start here next week and teaching some stuff. So it's exciting. We also can become defensive tactics instructors. After 3 years, you can become an FTO. You can also take a promotional test to become a sergeant after 3 years.
Which is 18% more.
Yes.
Good stuff. So we're going to cut to a video now of an officer who I used to work with, Officer Casey Hill. And she is going to talk a little bit about her defensive tactics skills and how they helped somebody.
There have been quite a few instances where I've had to utilize my defensive tactics training to effect an arrest. One that comes to mind relatively recently, it was at a mental health facility, and they were trying to, what they call pink slip, an individual, basically mandate them to go and seek mental health at the hospital. And he was super calm and collective, and then once we were moving out to the ambulance to have him transported, he takes off running. And at that point, you don't get to just let somebody take off running from you, especially when you know that they may be a threat to the community and they're a threat to themselves at that point. So of course, running behind them, depending on the situation, you try and start out at the bottom of your use of force continuum as long as it's safe for you. And so I attempted a level 1 on him, and it was unsuccessful because there was construction equipment, construction barrels all over the area, and there was a whole bus stop, a trash can. That's where your environmental awareness comes into play, and understanding who you work with, knowing that you have your backup. I had 2 fellow officers there, so because that level 1 wasn't coming into play, it wasn't effective. The partner that was there with me came through and warned that individual that he would be tased. He was tased. It was effective. And we all worked together to what we call cuff under power during his taser cycle. We were able to get him cuffed up and off to the hospital, and he wasn't a problem. I know it's weird to say because he just ran, but sometimes people just make bad decisions. But what was a very seemingly easy transport turned a little bit on its side, but everything went well, and that's kind of not uncommon, but it's something that a lot of people don't tend to see. They see the good or they see the bad. So there is an in-between.
All right. Thank you, Officer Hill, for your testimony. And what do we really like about our job? Well, you know, there's a lot more to this job than money. One thing that I like is that no 2 days are the same. And, you know, there's nothing that beats being a first responder.
Absolutely.
You're helping somebody out in their time of crisis. You could be coming across somebody on the worst day of their life or a situation that needs immediate help. And you're the superhero. You're going to help save the day.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think that I have been on situations where, you know, I've been told by medics that if we had not shown up when we did, that person would not have survived. Things like that, being a crisis intervention officer and seeing people when they're in that mental health crises, I enjoy being a part of getting them help. That's one of the things that I enjoy the most. Also, Diane, I mean, we get paid equipment, our uniforms are paid for, the entire tool belt, all of that stuff is provided to us.
Yes, Lindsay, and we don't even need to figure out what we're going to wear every day, which is an added
so
bonus.
True. Yes, I definitely hate picking out outfits. And I know, you know, it's not all about the money, but we do have the opportunity to work special duty as well, and that is $51 an hour for a minimum of 3 hours. And that is, I mean, things like you mentioned the marathon, simply stopping traffic during the marathon. And you're waving to the kids, you know, people are happy that you're there, and you are making some really good money.
Working traffic at the OSU games as well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Everybody's in a good mood, and easy way to earn some extra money for fun money.
I got to see the Michigan-Ohio State game by working special duty at
great.
the game. So I was like, you know, I would have had to pay for these tickets any other time, and I get paid to stand here and watch the game. So that was, you know, a great opportunity. It was cold, but it was it was a nice opportunity to have, you know. So
this is going to conclude our webinar. If you have any questions about becoming a police officer, please do not hesitate to call the recruiting unit at 614-645-4642. You can email us at jobs@recruiting.gov, or you can get a hold of us. You can visit our website for more information. Because, you know, we've done it. If you have that desire and that passion to make a difference in other people's lives and to do something unique, we believe in you, and we want to see you succeed.
Absolutely.
So we want to say thank you very much to CTV crew, Alex Brown, Andy Stout, Josie Smith, Evan Smith, all the people who did our pre-recorded interviews, retired Chief Jacobs, Acting Deputy Chief Jennifer Knight, Officer Caitlin Morales, Officer Tracy Shaw, and Officer Casey Hill. Polygraphist Randy Stonerock, Carla Pearson, Civil Service Commission, Kevin Neff, who is our webmaster, who does changes and edits to our webpage.
And, you know, Diane, I want to thank you for putting this together. I think that it is very important for this message to get out, and for females to know that this is a job that they can do, and to see the females that you highlighted in the videos, and to see us talking about it. I mean, we both have children, you know, and so you're able to do it all. And so I thank you for putting this together. I think it was very important to get that message out.
You're welcome.
Don't give up. Absolutely know that you can do this. You can do this. If I can do this, you can do this.
You don't know how long you have in life, you know, and if you're not doing something that you love, you should do something else, you know, go find something else. But loving it makes it so much easier.
This is a communication job. This is a public service job. Most of what you do, even though you have to understand there's a physical nature to this job. Most of what you do is communicating and talking with people. So don't believe for 1 second that if you're not 6'4" and 210 pounds, you can't do this job. You can do this job. You will love this job.
I would encourage anybody that's tried and not made it the first time to try again, if this is what they want to do. And then know that it's going to be hard, Sometimes you don't think you can get through the physical part or the studying part, but, put your mind to it, your heart to it, and you'll succeed.
So you're gonna have super stressful moments that now, 2 years later, I laugh about really, really hard. But I remember at the time wanting to cry. And you're gonna make great friends, but during the process it's gonna be a little hard. They're definitely gonna push your buttons, but you're gonna learn a lot.
So if you're thinking about law enforcement, if you're thinking about any career, I think you need to think about your future and what, first of all, you want people to say about you at the end of your career. And how do you want to live your life? Do you want to go about it every day and just kind of get through, or do you want to have that purpose in your life?